All right, so it was a bit of an eventful week in the garden. I don't know, you can't see behind me because it's all blurry, but the garden looks a little silly right now because I ended up having to contend with a big hurdle that I wasn't expecting.
To be kidding me.
Hey friends. All right, so today I have to tell you about the eventful week in the garden I had. I came across my first big garden challenge of this new location that had me really wondering, like, is this even gonna work? Is this even possible? So let me tell you about it. My favorite thing about gardening as a complete novice and rookie is the reminder that we don't control any of this, that we are just one of many players in this environmental ecosystem. And finding ways to get what I want out of the garden, to nurture it in the ways that move it in the direction I want, while still remaining in harmony and in collaboration with all of the other attributes, is actually a really fun puzzle for me. And it makes me feel more connected to myself, my place on the earth, my place in this land, and just my role in the garden. It's bigger than just growing the most produce possible for me. Nothing wrong with people who that's why they garden, or out of necessity they have to. And I know that I'm privileged to be able to even have the opportunity to battle these challenges in less extreme ways. I get it. But because I can, I choose to. And so this week in the garden, because this is a new garden in a new location, I came up against my first really big hurdle. In my garden before, I did have a few issues with the same exact challenging neighbor that I share this backyard with. And it was never a huge problem, but it was a problem. In my old garden though, I had an enclosure built around the entire top with chicken wire. So it kind of negated some of this problem. And now when I moved the garden to this new location, not only are we dealing with an entirely new location, it's on the complete opposite side of my property. So there are different animals that are over here than there were over there. Also, I removed the cage from the top of the raised garden bed. So it's no longer enclosed with chicken wire, which means it's much more open and vulnerable to the elements and the animals. I knew that this was probably going to be something that was a challenge. I didn't realize how soon it was going to be a challenge. So I came out the other day and I had transplanted a bunch of seedlings. I had also sown a bunch of seeds that had started to come up. So just tiny baby sprouts about this big. And I was so excited. If any of you guys garden, you know the excitement of when you see your seeds actually germinating and starting to grow, and the hope and the excitement that that inspires in you. So it's feeling all of those feelings. And I came out and my garden bed looked like a war zone. It was just huge divots, some of them almost 6 inches deep, holes dug out, dirt all over the place, and all my seedlings were dug up. It looked malicious. I know they weren't malicious, but it looked as if someone had come and been like, I'm gonna dig everything up purposefully, because nothing was still in the place that it had originally been. And I was so defeated because I had just been so excited the day before that everything had popped up and was growing, and I felt so excited and hopeful. And I realized the squirrels are gonna be a problem. So I had to think on my feet, and a big part of this garden build is being creative with what I already have and being a good steward of what I already have. Now, of course, I can go buy things. In fact, today I'm gonna be showing you some new things that I did buy for the garden. But in the daily in and out, I want to be really resourceful and creative. So I had to think on my feet. I got as many of the seedlings that had been dug up as I could and kind of just tucked them back into the soil and crossed my fingers that their roots weren't disturbed enough and they weren't out of the soil long enough that they wouldn't come back. And I kind of like replanted them. And then in some areas I smoothed all the dirt back out and then added a few extra seeds where I had planted seeds and they had germinated so that a new row could come up. And then what I did was I realized that I hadn't yet gone through and thrown away all of the old chicken wire from the caged enclosure of my last garden. So I went and I removed it from the frame, and because of that, it is the exact shape of the garden bed because I hadn't cut it down to size for the trash guys yet. I am so grateful that I was lazy about that project, because if I had gotten rid of it, I would have had to go buy all new chicken wire and recut it all down to the shape of the garden, which is just a tedious process with wire cutters. Not hard at all, just tedious. And so because I had it there, I was able to carry it over to the new garden and basically just place it on top. And I'll show you what I did. It's really janky and not beautiful, but so far it's working. So I took the chicken wire, I put it over the garden bed, I kind of reformed it, and I used landscaping stakes to actually stake the corners down so that the squirrels couldn't get underneath it. It has been 3 days since I did that, and I have been coming out every day and checking, and I don't see any squirrel holes in the main garden beds. So I'm really hopeful that this will work. And I've also just realized this may be something that I need to do as I work in this new garden, as I plant seedlings or transplant young transplants. I might just have to be aware that I'm going to have to use chicken wire to cover them until they're big enough that the squirrels can't dig them up while they're digging holes for their own acorns. So, will the squirrels defeat me in this new garden iteration? Perhaps. Perhaps, but I hope not. I really hope that through creative problem solving and working in harmony with the environment, using things that don't actually hurt the squirrels in any way, I can protect the areas of my garden that need to be protecting while also still not negatively affecting their habitat. I mean, they live here just like I do, and I want to respect that and live in as harmony with them as I can. I feel like that's probably going to be an ongoing challenge of this new location, but it's okay, not a big deal. Okay, so this week I also did go to the nursery, and I went just to get a couple herbs because I wanted to have thyme and oregano, and what else do we get? Oh, mint, already ready to go. I didn't want to have to wait and grow them from seed because we actually use that stuff the most. And I went on a weekend, and I've never gone to the nursery on a weekend before, and holy crap, it was so much better than on weekdays. Like, they stock up the whole place. They had all these things I had never even seen before. And so I kind of caved, and I got some things I wasn't even planning on having this year in the garden. I was planning on having them later on, and I kind of just impulse purchased them early. So one of those things is grapes. So in Florida, you can actually grow grapevines, but you have to grow a variety called muscadine grapes. And if you've ever had muscadine wine, it's a really unique flavor. It's really juicy, and it's so fun. So I'm gonna actually try my hand at growing grapes. I think that not only will it be beautiful to have them, like I'm thinking of maybe growing them over an archway into the garden, but I just think having the kids be able to come and pick grapes, and also just me getting to come and pick grapes, will be such a cool experience. And then I also got some strawberries, which this is strawberry season in Florida, and the kids were just really excited. So we just got 2 small plants to try it with. So my project for today in the garden is to get these herbs that I picked up in the pot, to get those planted out, to get these flowers that I picked up planted out, potentially get my grapes planted, get the strawberries in somewhere. I actually have to go and figure out what pots I want to put things in. I kind of just bought them with the idea that I'll figure it out when I get home. So we'll see. But I want to get all those things done. And then I also want to go get the bananas in the ground. So I have 2 small banana trees, and then I have 2 little banana starts, like baby bananas that came off of one of the trees. And I'm going to create an entire section down by the water where I showed you guys that's going to be just a little banana cove. So I got some mulch and different stuff to kind of take all the grass out of that area and put those in the ground. And then we need to figure out our mulch situation. I'm probably going to give Chip Drop a try, which is this app where you can get free mulch from landscaping companies. You just don't know when it'll come and you don't know how much it is. So I've been talking to all my neighbors like, hey, if they drop off way more mulch than I need, like, do you want some? So I think it's gonna start to come together really quickly. And I've been watching other gardeners that I follow online. Actually, one of them just moved into a new house and she's building all new gardens and she's going so much faster than me. And I've been having to like calm myself down and remind myself like this is happening at the speed it's supposed to happen, which if that's not a life lesson, I don't know what is. But I think now that things are starting to get going, it's gonna start to come together fast as things fill in and as the mulch comes in and as I get to kind of like decorate the garden. The foundational stuff of the garden is done and now it's getting to be in the more fun, kind of seeing it all come to life, seeing it all become really beautiful, and me getting to kind of putz around in it, which is like my favorite thing to do. Lead the way. Do you see it? There it is. There's our banana tree.
We have a banana tree over here.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna plant 3 bananas over here in this little section. Right by the water, so they're super happy. Because there are such insane tree roots here that are so freaking thick that even with all my body weight jumping on the shovel, I can't even dig a hole that's more than 8 inches deep from this tree. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to go about getting these banana plants in the ground. All right, I'm pulling audible. I'm actually going to move over like 4 feet and try planting there. Visually, it's not where I wanted the banana trees to be, but I think it's close enough that it's kind of negligible, hopefully. Hopefully I don't hate it when they get big, but I'm found a spot where there's less tree roots and the ones that are there are smaller so I can get through them. And I think the bananas will actually be able to like get down into the soil and tap into the water of the lake. So I'm gonna try there. Wish me luck. So I got the banana plants in the ground, not in my ideal location, but I'm hopeful that this will still look great as they grow in. And I used these old garden pavers that we had made like a makeshift fire pit with down here forever ago, but they had kind of gotten buried by the weeds. I made them just to hold off the grass. We have this really invasive grass, and eventually the bananas will grow and the trunks will be really thick and they'll kind of fill out the whole space, and then I think I'll just use mulch and I won't even worry about the grass. But for right now, I didn't want the grass to choke them out. And as you can see, there's a few banana pups that were attached to the main banana. So there's one there and one there, and I just kind of wanted to protect them as they're getting used to this new spot. So I feel hopeful that they'll do well here. Everyone here in our neighborhood seems to have banana trees down by the water, so keep your fingers crossed for me. I am beat. We got everything planted, the banana trees, the herbs and the flowers, the grapevine, everything except the little berry, because I'm not exactly sure which pot I want to use yet and I'm still thinking about it. It is only like 2 p.m. but I feel like I've been out here all day. This was a big step in the garden evolution process, so I'm feeling really positive. Feels good to have been out here in the sun all day, but I'm tired. I'm ready to go inside for a break. I thought it might be kind of cool for my own self-reflection and also for any of you guys that are watching to share with you not only the updates to the garden in its practical growth, but also like what lessons I'm learning in that week of being the steward of the garden. This week I feel like my lessons were that reality kind of comes in sometimes in the midst of us building our dreams, and we have to be creative and resilient and think outside of the box when those things happen. Because when you've got this big vision or you've got this big dream and you finally get the motivation to go out there and do it and you start working on it and you feel hopeful but at the same time kind of protective and nervous about it because you don't know if it's really going to work out or if it's going to be as good as you hope or if you have what it takes, and something happens, someone comes in and they say something mean about it, or some part of it fails, or some part of it doesn't go as well as you thought, it can feel really thwarting because we don't have a lot of confidence in it yet. And I feel like I'm at that stage in this garden. I'm kind of like, is this new location going to work? Am I going to be able to do it? Am I going to be able to handle this bigger garden? Am I going to be able to do a good job? Like all of these kind of things. And of course, when the squirrels came and just tore up everything that I had germinated. I mean, you guys, if you watched my last video about the seeds, you know how excited I was that like everything I planted germinated. That never happens for me. So that was a huge milestone. Then to have all of those plants get torn up was really defeating. So I had to just remind myself to stay calm, to think creatively, to come up with a solution and know that even if I lost that entire first round of seedlings, I was able to get them to grow. I'll be able to get stuff to grow again. So it was just a lesson in resilience even when we don't feel super confident, because I feel like it's really easy to be resilient when you feel really confident in what you're doing. It's not really easy to be resilient when you're a little unsure of yourself, and I think that that's more common. I think it's more common that we feel unsure of ourselves, especially if we're stretching ourselves in a new area or pursuing something that's outside of our comfort zone. So that was my first big lesson. My second lesson was a continued lesson in not comparing and having patience, because I definitely got sucked into some Instagram and YouTube comparison game with gardeners who I follow and respect, who inspire me a lot, who are either getting their spring gardens up and running, or who are, some of them are rebuilding gardens in a new home or in a new location, and they're moving way faster than me. And something that I've struggled with in the past is feeling like if anybody can do it, then I should be able to do it too. And if I can't, feeling really frustrated about that and really defeated and getting really down on myself, or kind of shifting into like a woe is me mentality. Like, oh, well, I have kids, young kids, and I can't just, go and do that all the time, or gardening isn't my main job, so I can't just go and spend 8 hours a day on it. I have to fit it in the cracks or whatever it is. So just working really hard to not give in to that comparison and to remind myself that this garden is happening at the exact pace that it's supposed to. And if I went any faster, I might not be prepared to handle it and keep up with it. And that kind of goes back to the lesson I told you that I was learning through the week of when I was sharing with you guys my seeds. I was telling you like this idea of turn your waiting room into a classroom, and the concept of like how important it is for us to take the time to really grow and learn, because if we just got everything we wanted the second we wanted, we might not be equipped to actually handle it well or deal with it. And I think I know when I scale back and I'm like, if I had a giant sprawling garden and everything was going so fast, I don't know enough yet to manage that. I have to manage things slower because I'm still learning. So that was my second lesson this week, is just remembering that everything is unfolding at the pace it's supposed to go for me, and I don't have to do it at the same rate of anybody else for it to be good enough. Which, if my husband watches this video later, he's gonna be like, I've been telling you that in every area of your life. And hopefully this journey unfolding inspires you with whether it's a garden that you're trying to build or a dream or whatever it is, that you see the parallels and the metaphors, and my lessons can become your lessons too. So thanks for hanging out. Till next time. It is the most beautiful day outside, and I came outside to just stroll through the garden since yesterday, you'll see in the video, I planted a ton of stuff and updated a ton of stuff, and I spent 4 or 5 hours out here yesterday. And I came out and my initial urge was like, ooh, what can I mess with? Like, what can I do? And I was laughing internally to myself, and I want to just share it because I feel like building a garden, maintaining a garden, cultivating a garden, it's this like push-pull lesson of, yeah, you need to be present and aware and engaged, and they say that the best fertilizer for a garden is the gardener's shadow, just meaning like kind of going out and looking at everything, but there's not always a lot to do. And that's so hard for me because I love to build things. I love to build businesses, I love to build concepts, I love to build pieces of art, I love to build gardens, I love to build rooms. Like I love the building process. I don't so much love the maintenance process. Like I get bored when things are just like going well and there's not something for me to do. And I came out and I was like, ooh, could I like add more pots? Could I build a new planter? Could I do this? Could I do that? And I was like, this is not, there's nothing to do. And that's the hardest part of gardening, is like you get all this work done and then you just kind of have to like wait while your plants grow in, because I'm not going to be able to do much until they start growing and producing. I can't rip them out and put new stuff in. I mean, I guess I could build more planters or add more pots, but at some point that's not even going to fit. So anyway, I was just laughing to myself about that. So I'm going to add that to the garden lessons this week, because that's definitely one. I keep coming out here every single day expecting that it's going to be like totally different, or there's going to be all this stuff for me to do, and there's like not much. Pull a weed, fix the chicken wire, that's it.